Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching the Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you some overshadowed book recommendations. And what I mean by overshadowed is that we people here on Booktube like to talk about popular books a lot because many people tend to love them. At the same time, most of them are really good as well. But while doing that, what happens is some other books which we also love equally don't get recommended enough. And I've also been the same kind of person. So I just sat down, scrolled through my Goodreads and curated a list of 10 books which I've not recommended enough from all the books that I've read in the past 12 months. And so I have 10 books here to recommend to you guys because I think not enough people read them. At the same time, there's also one fun thing which I noticed after curating the list. I have not included even one fantasy book inside this list, and it is a big thing for me because I predominantly read fantasy and it is my favorite genre as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. So the first book which I'm going to recommend you guys today is a crime thriller book, and recommending a thriller here is definitely a rare thing for me because I don't read as much thrillers as many other readers do. So the book which I'm recommending you guys is Cross Country by James Patterson. I know that James Patterson is a very well-known author inside the thriller genre, but I've not read any of his other books than this one, and I should say I enjoyed this one quite a lot because it was very gripping. Here we follow our main character Alex Cross, who's a detective, and he has to deal with this homicide on a particular day. And what gets revealed when he investigates the homicide is that the people who are killed is his ex's family. And following this, there are also many other murders which happen inside Washington DC. And when all of these are investigated, all of them point towards certain countries inside Africa where the murderer or murderers that have caused these crimes can be hiding in. So our main character Alex Cross as well as his team head towards some countries inside Africa, and they have to face a lot of trouble and legal issues while they are traveling inside different countries in there. It is definitely nail-bitingly thrilling, and at the same time, the different countries inside Africa provide a fresh as well as original setup for the story to progress and take place. One other reason why I am recommending this book here is because it is over 400 pages long, but each and every chapter inside the book is very short. Not even one chapter goes over 10 pages in length, so that you can just flip through them and even finish it in one sitting itself. I took 2 to 3 days to finish this book, but if you're a person who likes thriller books a lot, I think this will be a very quick read for you. Also, all the other books that I'm going to recommend in this video are around 300 pages long, so that they can be read very easily and quickly also. So Cross Country by James Patterson is the first book that I'm recommending here. The next one is a contemporary novel written in verse, and it is Punching the Air by E.B. Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. Here we follow our main character Amal Shahid, who's 16 years old, and he's convicted of a crime which he did not do, and because of this he's put into juvie. While he gets into prison, the things that he faces are really horrible for him, and the thing which makes it even more horrible is that he's not a person who's responsible for any crime that happened there, but he is convicted because of various reasons. Now the thing that is special about this book is that though there is a tragedy that has happened in Amal's life, he tries to make his way through it by using the passion that he has for art as well as poetry, and because of this the book also has a lot of illustrations that are said to be done by the character himself. You can see some here and there, so I'd recommend you to listen to the audiobook and just flip through the pages because it has some really gorgeous illustrations which I've not seen in such a simple yet elegant way in most other books written in verse that I've read so far. It is definitely a strong and compelling read, and when you read the book, I'm sure that there will be instances when your eyes just well up because it happened to me at multiple instances while I was reading this book. This is also around 400 pages long, but if you listen to the audiobook and read the physical book, I'm sure you can finish it in like 2 or 3 hours max. It is definitely a powerful read, and I think many more people need to read it. Another thing which I want to add about this book is that it is based on the actual life story of one of the 2 authors here, so I think it needs to be read by many more people. If you're interested in reading books written in verse, definitely go for it. I'm sure that you will not be disappointed. The next one is a sci-fi slash dystopian book, and it is The Host by Stephenie Meyer. I know that Stephenie Meyer is very famous because of Twilight, and I have not read Twilight as well as I have not watched Twilight as well, so I don't know anything about that. But after finishing this book, I definitely want to give Twilight a chance because I love this book so much. I went in with zero expectations, and I should say that the way in which the author has written this book is just excellent. I didn't see anything wrong with it at all. Here we follow a world in which the earth has been taken over by a human race called the souls, and they are these worm-like silver creatures which are inserted into the bodies of human beings. And after being inserted, what they do is they take over the consciousness of the human being, and instead of the human's consciousness, the soul's consciousness takes over the body. Hence the consciousness of each and every human being either gets completely compressed or it disappears away itself. There are also several groups of human beings who are not taken over by the souls, and our main character Melanie is one such person who gets caught by the souls, and because of this she is also injected with a soul called Wanderer, and Melanie's body is the host of Wanderer, hence the title of the book. The world building inside this book was really good. At the same time, the characterization of the soul as well as the human being was really well done. So if you've not tried The Host yet, just go forward and try it. It is definitely a huge book. This one and another book in this list are a bit huge in length, but trust me, they are both worth the read. So if you've not tried The Host yet, just go forward and try it. It's really good. Since we've seen a few serious books so far, I want to recommend some light-hearted, fun book now, and it is I Love You So Mochi by Kuhn. I read this in the January of this year and it was so much fun. If you're a person who likes reading YA romances, just go forward and try this. I'm sure you will enjoy it. At the same time, if you like To All the Boys I've Loved Before and the other series by Jenny Han, I'm sure that you will love this because both of them have the same tone. Here we follow our main character Kimmy, who's in the final year of her high school, but she's not clear of what she wants to do after high school in terms of whether she wants to get to college or do some other program. While she is in this confusion, she gets this opportunity to go to Japan and visit her grandparents and stay there for a few weeks. She makes use of that opportunity and goes to Japan and stays there. And when she is there, she gets to meet this boy named Akira, and during that time a cute romance blossoms there. After being in Japan, she gets back to the US and she has to decide finally what she is going to do with her life. But the best part about this book is the things that happen in Japan, and the things that happen in Japan happen during the Cherry Blossom Festival. If you want something nice, fresh and sweet to read, just go forward and try this. I'm sure you'll not be disappointed. At the same time, I'm a bit bewildered that not many people have read this, so this is the next book inside the list. The next one is a mystery book and it is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Here we follow two main characters, Nella and Caroline, from two different timelines. Nella is an apothecary from the 1800s in London, and Caroline is an aspiring historian who's spending her 10th anniversary alone in London without her husband. Now you might think, when there are two people from two different timelines, how can their stories meet? But that's the excellence of this book if you ask me. Since Nella is an apothecary from the 1800s, she has this secret profession of making some concoctions for women who are being mistreated by their male companions and cohorts in their houses. And at the same time, Caroline is having some issues inside her marriage in her 10th anniversary in London, which she is spending alone. And this is happening during the current time. So both of these characters have their stories happening 200 years apart, but the way in which the author merges both of these stories together and makes Caroline discover the life of Nella is really interesting. It is also a very quick read. You can sit in an afternoon and finish it completely. It is beautifully written and there is no unnecessary fitting in order to distract us from the mystery at all. It also showcases female friendships in a beautiful way. So if you are interested in any of the things that I've said so far, just go forward and try this. It will definitely be a mystery which will make you think a lot. The next one is an audiobook and it is VALMIKI'S Women by Anand Neelakantan, and it is a mythology book. Here the author talks about 4 characters from the Ramayana, and all of these 4 characters are females. They are actually shown with a different facet for us in the original Ramayana, but the way in which the author shows their original stories for us is really beautiful. I don't remember the names of all the 4 characters right away, so I'm not going to tell them to you. Just go forward and try it. I'm sure you will completely love it. The writing of the author in this one is extremely brilliant. And if you have an Audible subscription going on right now, you can listen to this for free in the Audible Plus catalog. Again, I went into this book knowing nothing, and I should say that I completely enjoyed it from the first chapter to the last. It has almost 4 to 5 chapters only, and of these, the first one shows us why this book is written in such a way, and the subsequent 4 chapters tell us the stories of each and every one of these 4 characters. The first one is Shanta, who's the elder sister of Ram. The next one is Kaikeyi. After that, we have Manthara, and at last we have Tataka. Of these 4 female characters, the tone of 3 female characters is shown in a really negative way for us in the Ramayana, but the way in which the author narrates their life story to us and makes us see the story from their point of view is really nice. At the same time, the story of Shanta is not something which many of us have heard of, but the way in which the author says that is also really beautiful. So if you are interested in mythology, just go forward and try it. The next one is a young adult LGBTQ contemporary book, and it is My Brother's Name is Jessica by John Boyne. This book is written by the same author of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is insanely famous. I think this book should be just as famous as the other book. Here we follow our main character Sam, whose elder brother Jason comes out to be trans, and the way in which the family has to deal with it and try to understand Jason's sexuality, or Jessica's sexuality as we see here, is the actual plot of the book. I've personally not read any books in which trans characters have been focused that much, but here one of our main characters itself is trans, and the way in which they have to deal with a lot of issues in their life and try to make other people even in their family to understand was really nice to read. It is definitely a hard-hitting book, and some scenes inside this book are really difficult to read, even though it is written for children and young adults. So just look out for some content warnings and trigger warnings if you're going to read this. Excluding that, it is a really well-written story, and I think this book should be just as famous as the other book which I talked about before. Since it talks about a young adult trans character, I think many people need to read this. The next one is a literary fiction book, and it is The Book of Essie by Meghan, McLean, Weir. Here we follow our main character Esther, who's 16 years old and she gets pregnant, and she's a part of this huge family whose life is actually documented and televised as a show called 6 for Hicks, Because of this, the fact that she has gotten pregnant is a problem, and in order to fix that problem, what the family or especially her mother decides is they have to put up this huge wedding and also televise that as a show, so that the fact that she is pregnant can be shielded from the public. At the same time, they can also make a lot of money from it. Everyone is thinking that Essie has been made pregnant by her boyfriend, but that is not a case and someone else has actually done it. Who's the reason for Esther's pregnancy and the way in which this show is actually made is the actual plot of the book. The best thing I liked about this book is that it shows us properly what sexism is and how it can even cause so many problems for individuals inside a single family. I have seen this book being marketed by various subscription boxes 2 to 3 years back, but after that it has not been popular at all. The writing of the author is smooth here, and this is definitely a type of story which needs to be told out loud. So if you're interested in nice, rich and dramatic stories, you should definitely read it, and at the same time it also has a good social message. The next one is another literary fiction book, and it is Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. I know that various other books by Kristin Hannah are super famous, but I have not read any of them. I have only read this one, and I should say that many more people need to read. Here we follow two women, Kate and Tully, who meet as teens and they grow up together for the rest of their lives. One of our two main characters here is more focused on their family life, and the other is totally focused on her career, and she wants to become this huge person inside her field. There are so many emotions that play between the main characters here in this book, and I should say that it is super realistic. I'm sure every one of us has experienced both happiness as well as sadness, at the same time a lot of jealousy, even for small, trivial or huge things when it comes to our friends. But if we look past all those things, the friendship that we have between us is the hugest thing, and in front of it all these other emotions don't seem as much powerful. And if you're going to read this book, you should definitely read the author's note at the end of the book, because I think that's the best author's note that I've read so far in my life. It also has a Netflix adaptation which I've not watched. Again, just like The Host, this one is also a bit long, and it will also take a lot of time to read, especially because of the emotions, but trust me, it will be worth all your time. The last book that I'm recommending for this video is an illustrated book, and it is And the Ocean Was Our Sky by Patrick Ness, illustrated by Rowena Kai. I read this last November, and I should say that it was perfect for that weather. Here we follow a group of whales called the Bathsheba Pod, and the only work that these whales have is to hunt. So what happens one day is they are hunting this crew of human ships, and they end up taking one human alone and not killing him, and the artwork inside it is really brilliant. I'll just show you one or two images for sample. Again, it is a dark story, but trust me, those illustrations as well as the narration of the author just sweeps us into this world. I'm sure you'll be transported into the world of the whales. So yes guys, those are all the books which I have not recommended enough so far in my channel. I hope you found them useful and also found some books which you have not heard of before in this video. If you did find it useful and enjoyable in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.